Hello, hello, hello. Are we on the usual story? Feel like we're on. Feeling very on. Am I on? Somebody tell me. I'll assume I'm on until people start panicking, stricken, telling me I'm not on. So we'll see what happens. Hello, everybody. It's Mike Meyers, and welcome to the Monday edition of the Mike Meyers live stream of Ask Mike Anything. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us, just checking the screen here, to provide those of us who are isolated by the coronavirus an opportunity to continue our studies on certifications. Now, we concentrate on CompTIA certifications, in particular, A+, Net+, and Security+, but we are also some pretty good techs around here. And when I say we, there's lots of other folks around here. I've got the guys from the office who help out. You can tell they've got the yellow names that post up. And then I'm always glad to... We've lots of other people in here, Tolowit, Alan Duggan, Patricia Grace. We got all kinds of techs who are always in here, and it's always a pleasure to have you guys. Thank you so much. Coffee. Really coffee. Yeah, so, all right. What do we have for starters here? All right, so today is, we're going to continue routing today. Routing in particular, we're going to be concentrating more conceptually on static routing, but to be honest with you, we're going to be talking about sort of routing concepts overall. So we're definitely doing static routing today, absolutely. But more importantly, I want to make sure people understand some basic concepts. In particular, so many of us, our first exposure to routers is going to be some home router where we're just trying to get connected to the internet. And in a lot of ways, while that is a perfectly good router, it's a router with training wheels in so many different ways. So we're going to be talking today a little bit about SOHO routers. We're even going to bring up a configuration screen for one and just talk about some of the issues that come in with SOHO routers versus a true enterprise type router. So anyway, Lumberjack Mike, totally likes my shirt. Yeah, it's got down to, what would it be, 56 degrees. So that is, for us, that's downright nippy around here, and a good reason to make me wear one of these. So there we go. All right, anytime you see me looking to the right like this, that's because what I'm doing here, folks, is I'm checking out the live stream, and I'm looking for your questions. So the goal of this live stream is to, you ask questions. Yes, we're doing routing today, but at any time, on any topic, if you want to just throw in a question, feel free to do so. And I'll be watching through there, and we'll intercept those questions as we can. So, TD Washington, National Save the Eagles Day. I thought the Philadelphia Eagles. Okay. Sahil, can you please tell about Quick Protocol and how it differs? No, I can't. I'm aware of Quick. Is it Quick? I don't even know how to pronounce that. That's a Google's groovy little protocol. It's an interesting point, though. I'll tell you what, Sahil, I'm not going to address that today, mainly because it takes a little more depth. But Sahil, if you really want me to talk about that, and I'm not against doing that, I just need somebody to remind me. So Sahil, if you want me to talk about that, send me an email. Send me an email, michaelm@totalsem.com. My name is, if you're a gamer, I'm Senor Pepe on Steam and most other ones, and I'm Desweds at just about everything else. But anyway, Sahil, send me an email, michaelm@totalsem.com, and bug me a little bit, and I'm not against going into other protocols like that. Now, folks, we do start here at 2 o'clock. We'll be running till 3. Or until the questions run out, whichever comes first. Given that my presentation is probably 30 minutes long, I doubt that's going to happen today. However, we do want to make sure we're aware of that. Dank Dude Dan. Hi, Mike. Can you say, "You're my Pog champ"? You're my Pog champ. Dank Dude, you're my Pog champ. There. Here, let me do it one more time so you can cut it out. Dank Dude Dan, you're my Pong champ. Okay, here we go. So if you get money from that, I'll send you my address so you can give me a cut. Dalton Lundgren bought a bunch of your courses. Thank you, Dalton. Seriously, I appreciate it. My mortgage thanks you. Taking my first A+ test this week. Thanks for everything. Oh, man, thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. JM. Hey, JM. Good to see you again. Hey, Mr. Meyers. It's actually, just for the record, JM, my last name is spelled M-E-Y-E-R-S. M-Y-E-R-S is the murderer in the Halloween movies. Is it possible to have a VLAN in a layer 2 switch? Absolutely. In fact, that's where most VLANs originally come from. When we say a managed switch, we're talking about a layer 2 switch, and it almost certainly has VLAN capabilities in it. VLAN. Yeah, a layer 3 switch cannot have a VLAN. VLAN works below layer 3, so VLANs don't use IP addresses for anything. So yes, only a layer 2 switch could have it. Now, when you say I have a layer 3 switch, what you're probably saying is you have a multi-layer switch, which is not only a full-blown layer 2 switch, but it probably has inter-VLAN routing and all kinds of other stuff in there, so it runs both a layer 2 and 3. William Sedawa, will you make a Network Plus 008 course? God, what are we up to? It's been... I had literally forgotten what the current Network Plus is. Let me look that up real quick. Oh, it's Udemy. How did that happen? I could never remember these things. You'd think I would after all this. I'm getting old. Whew. CompTIA sells a 10-day class for $3,000. Yipe. Hang on, I'll find it. So I'm just going to CompTIA.org to try to find this. I'm getting a bunch of 404 errors. I don't remember. What the new Network Plus, the one that's only been out for a few months, is that 008 or 007? I literally have forgotten. That is all out. It's waiting on printers, waiting on post-production. I have done everything that I possibly can. We live in a world of coronavirus, and I have to deal with publishers who don't have paper, printers who don't have printers. You know, it's just like everybody's got an excuse, and you know what the story about excuses are. So the only thing I can tell you, my friends, is I got all my stuff done. I'm waiting on a lot of people who've got to finger up a certain orifice that are taking too long to get it done. So it should be out soon. What else we got here? So yeah, sorry, William. We're trying to get them out. Dalton, what kind of peripherals liking recently? So I've been using these Inland brand. I'm not even sure whose brand this is. I think this is I don't know whose brand it is, but it's you can tell, it's a mechanical, and I love this one. But other than that, I'm pretty much, for most of my peripherals, I'm a Logitech guy, you know. What I would love to have is some more Microsoft Natural keyboards, but the ones I like don't exist anymore, and they stopped making them 10 years ago. And even back then, I bought like 3 of them, because how long would a keyboard last? They last forever, right? They don't. But yeah, if anybody's got any USB 2.0 Microsoft Natural keyboards, and I'm not talking about those garbage little flat, they're almost perfectly flat, the ones that Microsoft's junk. So that would be my answer. Nubian Queen, good to see you again, Nubian Queen. Greetings, Mike. I've signed up for most of your courses. Just do one at a time, Nubian Queen. And I'm looking forward to passing with your guidance and knowledge and support. Keep doing. Okay, thank you, young lady. I really do appreciate it. LUR card, mechanical keyboards. Yep, absolutely. Artist for today's mug is, yeah, that's Peanuts. There we go. I can't remember the name of the artist. Schultz. Crystal Hamilton. You guys are talking about my keyboards. That's very cool. All right. All right, so it looks like questions have slowed down for a minute. So let's go ahead and start talking about routing. Now keep in mind, this is really part 3 of our routing discussion. Last Wednesday, I kind of did an intro to, it was more of an intro to routing in general, although it concentrated on the idea of static routing. And then before that, we had like a pre-routing lecture, which I'd recommend you listen to because I think it helps get a lot of things clarified in people's heads. Now, a couple of things I do want to stress to you before I get into this presentation. Number one, you guys are guinea pigs. So whenever I'm doing stuff like this, it's because, well, I love you guys to death. So I take advantage of your kindness and the fact that you can't beat me up to take chances in terms of my presentation. In particular, this presentation is going to have a lot of IP addresses in it, and I have gone through it over and over and over again, but I'm pretty much these days a force of one, so hopefully I've caught all the errors, and we'll see what happens. TD Washington, I think everybody had one of those Microsoft Natural keyboards. Yeah, I wish I'd kept more of mine too. And I really did, many years ago, bought like 3 of them on eBay thinking they'd last me for, I guess they did last for about 10 years. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this. Today what we're going to be talking about is some more of the practical router uses, and we're going to get into some of those router functions. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's see what happens. All right, here we go. This is a construct. I always think of the Matrix whenever I see this completely white screen. What I'm doing right now is trying to find my mouse, which is grown legs. Okay, so what we're going to do for starters is we're going to take a look at, this is one broadcast domain, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect this broadcast domain to the internet. Basically what we're doing here, folks, is what everybody does in their home, okay? You've got a little network in your house and you bought some router with 4 ports on the back because it's a router and a switch all combined into one, and you plug a couple of things in there, you get the wireless going, okay? And you have set up your own internal network ID. If you haven't changed the network ID, it's probably going to be like 192.168.1, 192.168.0, something like that. But you have to connect to the internet. So let's talk about this a little bit, all right? So in order to connect to the internet, well, first of all, let's stop using the cloud, because the reality is what you're doing is you're connecting to the next hop up. So inside this hop, so there's going to be some kind of router. Now this router is sitting in your ISP's office. This could be a phone company, this could be cable company, who knows? But there is a router up there somewhere, and we're going to connect to that router. Now we're probably not going to connect directly to that router. This router probably has a switch in it, and the router connects to the switch, and then the router connects upstream to its ISP. This always trips people out. Wait, I have an ISP. Are you telling me my ISP has an ISP? Yeah, that's right. Everybody's got an ISP except for the tier 1 internet. Everybody has a way to go up, okay? There's one place where you wouldn't want to go up, it's because you aren't connected to the internet. Let's see, you've got 3 local area networks that are in no way connected. Maybe there's a lot of networks in places you don't think about, you know? Probably like the F-22 fighter plane has multiple TCP/IP networks in it, but they are completely disconnected. They are what we call air-gapped from the internet, because I don't want somebody, you know, while I'm flying an F-22 to start taking control. So there's lots of places where we have TCP/IP WANs with routers in them that are in no way connected to the actual internet, in no way, shape, or form. Crazy, huh? All right. Okay, so from this switch, it goes out. There's lots of customers. Let's just say this is my cable modem company. And we connect out to all the different kind of customers. Only got a couple here. But what we want to do is we want to get connected to our little internal network. Now, we can't run a bare cable from their switch, you know, on the up on the power lines or through the conduit, and then over to your network. We have to have a little box in between. And that box is a router. Now, in this example right here, I've got a 2-port router, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to connect one end of that 2-port router up to that switch. Guys, you can't see the switch on your internet service provider. All you see is a piece of cable coming in. And that piece of cable may have a modem. Don't say router. It's a modem that will allow you to convert, say, from coaxial to Ethernet or whatever it might be, but it's still, you just have a cable, all right? You are connecting to another router upstream, always. All right. And then somehow we're gonna have to connect this guy into our local area network, okay? Got the basic idea? So let's go through this process. So first of all, let me clear all that goobity-gop out. We're gonna make 2 physical connections. This connection here on the right, this is what came in from my internet service provider. Maybe I got a modem in my house that I connect to my router. A lot of times the modem is built into the router. Like if you have, for example, AT&T or something like that, you don't even have this connection. You just have a piece of F connector or something coming in because that's all configured on that end and plugged in there. But then you're always going to have some kind of connection that goes out here. Now you'll notice here on this particular example, I've only got 2 ports. And a lot of you guys go, well, Mike, I've looked at my modem, and when I look at my modem or my router or whatever you want to call it this week, I have 1 connection that goes out to the WAN. Okay, I saw that on your diagram. But Mike, I have 4 connections. I got 4. What's that all about? And people get all indignant like that. So the reality is that it's just a switch, guys. You don't see the connection on the LAN side. I can plug into any one of those 4, and I'm connected to that spot on the router itself. Okay. So what I'm going to do is create some example addresses here. So first of all, I'm going to put as the internal network ID 172.18.13.0. If you've forgotten about network IDs, I strongly recommend you watch the 2 previous episodes and get you back up to speed. All right, so on here in my local area network, I got 172.18.13.0. Mike, where did 172.18.13.0 come from? I made it up. I'm in control of my own local area network. I don't want to use 192.168.1 or whatever stupid default comes out of that router. I'm going to change it up. Make it a little hard for people to hack your network, will you? All right, so 172.18.13.0, okay? And on my ISP, okay. A billion years ago, 1 billion years ago, when you connected to the internet, you didn't use DHCP on the WANs or anything like that. You had a static IP address. And when you first paid your money to whoever it was your internet service provider, they would hand you a piece of paper. And this piece of paper told you how to configure your router. So in this example, I'm going to go with that for a minute. Trust me why we're doing this. So take a look. So my IP address it's literally telling you what to configure the WAN side of the router to. Your IP address is 14.12.13.220. It's a WAC24 subnet. Your default gateway, that's what DG stands for, is 14.12.13.1. Default gateway? I thought the router was the default gateway, Mike. Yeah, your router's the default gateway for all of the people on your local area network. But once your router gets something, it is also going to need a default gateway and so on and so on. You get the idea? Unless you're at the very top of the internet. All right. And then DNS, this is just, I made that up, doesn't matter. 14.12.13.100. Okay. So let's keep these numbers in mind. 14.12.13. Whatever. All right. So here's my 172.18.13. This is my home network. And then here is my ISP's network, which is upstream of mine. So I'm going to plug in my router. That's the easy part. So first thing I'm going to do is probably configure the WAN side of my, the LAN side of my router to 172.18.13.1. On the vast majority of routers, you define your internal network simply by setting the IP address of the LAN side of your router. Let's do that again. Mike, where did 172.18.13 come from? Well, I invented it, okay? But what I did to establish that as my network ID on the LAN side of my router, I said, your IP address is 172.18.13. And we usually give it 1. If there's no law of physics that says all default gateways have to be .1, in some situations they can't be. However, it is an etiquette. If I'm coming in to work on your network, I'm going to assume that the LAN side of your router is set to .1. Now I can check this pretty quick, probably I run in an ipconfig/all, but I just assume that, so it's an etiquette. All right. Now the problem here is I've got this upstream router. Do you see that? The problem with this upstream router is that he also has an IP address, and his IP address, probably because he's the default gateway for this network, I'll guess that it's like 14.12.13.1. So we need an IP address right here, folks. So we're going to pick 14.12.13. Well, we can actually use what was given to us by the ISP. It's probably, well, back in those days, that's exactly what you had to do. So we'll just do that. 14.12.13.100. Is that what I put on that note? Okay, doesn't matter. Bottom line is we've got our IP addresses set now. Therefore, this is a highly simplified routing table. First of all, you'll notice that our upstream, which is, and again, this is on our local router, folks. This is on our router here in the house. We have a default route, which is going to be, that's what the zeros are. Remember, default route means if you don't know, go this way. So I don't care what the network address is. I don't care what the subnet is. Send everything out to the next router up and send it out on my own interface of 14.12.13.100. I want you to look at that one more time. It's really important to me that you understand in a routing table, when you have stuff that has to jump up one to the next router, it's going to say that router's IP address in there. If it doesn't have to jump to the next router, like if it's a directly connected LAN, well then there won't be anything under gateway, it'll just have an interface. Or a lot of times under gateway it'll say on link. All right, so, and that's what these two right here are doing. This means anything for the 172.18.13, just send it out on 172.18.13.1. And anything for the 14.12.13, just send it out on 14.12.13.100. Okay, that's the easy part. But let's make sure we understand this default gateway. I don't care what the IP address is. I don't care what the subnet mask is. Send it out on this interface addressed to that gateway. Get the idea? I'm looking at this. I'm always convinced I have a typo in there somewhere. Okay, so I think we got the part I want to do. All right. So what I want to do now is we're going to do this over again, except this time what I'm going to do, see if I can, bear with me guys. And okay. All right, so this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring up my router. Give me just a second, let me find it. Okay, so I've got my router. Let me go ahead and bring that over where you guys can see it now. I know if I haven't said this already, you really should be in full screen for this, but we'll do the best we can. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to head over to my actual upstream router. Now keep in, I'm sorry, not my local router, which is right here in my mechanical room. So what we have to be very careful about here, folks, is that we have to understand that I can't teach you how to even find a routing table. I mean, it depends on the operating system. A lot of times it depends on the router. I don't know how to find your routing table on your router. I don't know how to set up static routes on your router, but I can poke around and figure this out. A big challenge I run into in IT is I meet a lot of people and I teach them some concept. And they're like, well, I tried it and it didn't work. If you, okay, I'm not gonna get mad. I'm gonna stay calm. Okay. When people go, pick, pick, oh, that didn't work, I like almost kind of instantly know that they probably shouldn't be in any form of IT. The analogy I use all the time talks about well, I just sold my Mercedes, so I've got what do I have left? I've got a Ford Escape. So could you run the windshield wipers in my Ford Escape? And the answer is, if you have any driving experience, you probably can. But you may have never driven a Ford Escape, but you understand conceptually how windshield wipers work, and therefore, when you're presented with the job of trying to run a windshield wiper because you understand it, you can do the intermittents, you can probably even squirt the water, right? Without any formalized training. But what's important is that you understand conceptually how windshield wipers work, and you poke around and you figure it out. That's the same thing here with routing, folks. I can conceptualize a routing. I can even set up a couple of static routes for you, but that doesn't mean I know how to do it on your router. Everything's different. Everybody's different. Okay. The other thing I want to talk about is that on a traditional home router, you use NAT. Now, NAT allows multiple devices to share a single IP address, okay? And NAT is great, and it's been around now for 15 years or so. But what we're going to do, in order to use static routes, we're going to have to turn off NAT. Odds are good you've never done this before. In fact, this is one of these things where you might want to consider not doing this unless you're comfortable conceptually with what's going on. If you turn off NAT on your home router, folks, you can no longer use private IP addresses internally. Those LANs with the 192.168s, even arguably with my 172.18, those are private IP address ranges. So if you turn off NAT, you better get on the phone and call your ISP and go, look, I also need to buy a network ID so all my computers can have an IP address. Still want to do static routing? You do. There's good reasons for it. And we're going to go through some examples today. But it's important you understand that most of the time when you get into a home style router and you want to start messing with the routing, there's going to be a place that usually says turn NAT on or off, or sometimes it'll say enable static routes. It just varies on each make and model. And so be ready for that. If you have a NATed router, and you probably do at home, and you turn it off, you will not be on the internet. The problem is, folks, is your private IP addresses for your phone and all that stuff with those 192.168 addresses, it'll probably get up through maybe one, maybe two routers, and then it's just erased, because all routers by definition erase all private IP addresses. There's some exceptions to that. There's actually ways to get routers to accept private IP addresses. However, don't let them get on the internet, because there's always some router up there that'll eat it. Okay, I think we got the basic idea here. Mike, shut up. Let these people see this work. Let me get myself queued up. Where is it? Oh, I've already got it up and running. Okay, here we go. All right, so if we take a look, this is my device. And don't worry, I change all these just for you. All right, so I don't really know where this is. So what I'm looking for is the routing table. So a lot of times, probably network map. Let's check LAN. All right, so I have an internal address of 172.18.13.1. Yes, that's a private IP address, folks. If I turn off routing on this machine, right? If I turn off NAT on this machine, I go down. I don't want to go down because I'm having fun talking to you. So we'll dance around this a little bit. Okay, here we go. Okay, DHCP server. Route, I believe is it. Here we go, LAN route. So enable static routes. I'm going to click that yes. As long as I don't hit apply, we're okay. So here's where we type it in. We type in if there's a network ID out there. Isn't it interesting? It says IP. It's actually ID there. And then the subnet mask gateway. Now notice there's a pull down on here, and that's because it sees other stuff on my little network and wants to get to it, but I could still type in an IP address right here. Metrics we'll talk about in a minute. And then the interface. Now mine has a LAN interface and a WAN interface. MAN is interesting. On this particular home router, which is an Asus AX88U, I believe, it actually has a second WAN connection. This is becoming very popular. We've had this in the enterprise forever, but in the home routing, it's becoming popular. A lot of people get 2 ISPs, and they connect one router to one port to one ISP and another port to the other ISP. Get the idea? So that's all we're seeing happening there. So at this point, and then I can add or delete. All right, but that's how you create a static route, folks. It's that easy. So what let me click on that just because I'm so paranoid right now. Let me get back here. So that's the first step on configuring a static route. When you're working with static routes, the number one thing you do is you draw your little rounded rectangles and you write down the network IDs. Folks, I do this on every network I ever touch. The most powerful tool for network configuration is a pen and a piece of paper. I love it when people are like, oh, I'll just come in and start doing it. It's like, are you an idiot? Write it down. Write down your network IDs where you were going to connect it to. Do you have any information for your ISP? Come on, people, figure it out. So the number one thing you do is you draw out your two networks that you want to interconnect, your 2 network IDs. And then the second thing you say to yourself, and I draw a little box with 2 things on there. I go, I need to give each one of these ports an IP address for that particular network. So the port that's plugged into, 14, 15, 16, that address there has to be 14, 15, 16 dot something. And the WAN side is either going to come as a piece of paper, if you have a statically assigned address. It's going to be a piece of paper that comes from your ISP and tells you what to type in there, or it's going to be DHCP. Let's talk about that for a minute, because that messes people's minds up a little bit. No. So if we take a look on the WAN side here, so you can see right now it says automatic IP address. That's because it's using DHCP. But if I wanted to, I can change this to static IP, and then I can type it here. This should disappear. Let's try that again. Yeah, okay. So when I go to static IP, here I can type in my WAN's IP address, subnet mask, default gateway, DNS server, whatever I might need. Don't get excited about hacking me, people. These are temporary addresses. Okay, so that's almost boring if you think about it. The actual process of setting up a static route means you have to go into the router and you're going to have to type in a network ID and the subnet mask associated with that network ID. And then you're going to have to type in the gateway that it's going out of if it's not directly connected to your router. You'll have to have the IP address of the next upstream router's IP. And then you're going to have to say which interface is it going out of on your router, okay? Now, the one you just saw was easy. When I talked to interface, it was LAN and WAN. On a enterprise router, you're going to be typing in other stuff like ETH0 or ETH1, stuff like that. Okay. All right, is this going to work? Yay. Okay. So I want to do that again, all right? Except this time what we're going to do is we're going to create a scenario where I have a local area network and then I have 2 ISPs. So let's watch what happens there. All right, so I got one router with 2 ISPs. So let's draw it up. Folks, I do this every time before I get started. So first I'm going to draw up my local area network. Yes, it's a private address. For this description, I probably shouldn't use a private address, but it's not hurting anything. All right, so this is my local area network, and this is my ISP1 and my ISP2. So what I'm going to do is I got to put some information in here. So, whoopsie. So I need information on these types of things. But the other thing I'm going to need is a router. So I use a router like this. So this is a Ubiquiti Edge router. This is a very inexpensive router, folks. It's about $200, extremely powerful. And you'll see it doesn't have LAN and WAN. It's got ETH0, ETH1, ETH2. This one over here, that's just for configuration, okay? So there's 1, 2, 3 in here. Now, if you're used to home routers, most of the time you go in on a web interface and do stuff. More more often than not, you can at least get some basic stuff done on pretty much even a super high-end router through a web interface. But what we see more and more, where's my phone is gone. What we see more and more for configuration is you can Telnet or SSH into it using PuTTY or some terminal program. That's old school, like for a old Cisco router. A lot of routers have apps now, and you can just go in and use the app and do configuration. A lot of routers still do it old school. You can see it's got a console connector right on that thing, and it has kind of its own language. It has its own command prompt and its own language, and yeah, so lots of fun. All right, let's watch this in action. All right, so I'm going to take this 3-port router, and here I drew it out like this so life's a little bit easier, and I'm going to make 3 connections here. So here's my internal connection, which is on ETH0. So ETH0 is connected to the switch that populates all these guys. ETH1 is one of my ISPs, and ETH2 is my other ISP. And these addresses came from the ISPs themselves. All right, here we go. So first of all, I'm going to go into that router and configure all of these ports. Each one of these 3 ports is going to get an address. You notice I'm kind of setting him up as the default gateway for my 172.18.13 network, so I call him a .1. But these two, there's upstream guys who have .1s, so I'm just picking like .100 or .202. Or maybe that came on that piece of paper, and I'm just configuring it based on what I was told by the ISP. Okay, let's take a look at a routing table. All right, so this time if we take a look at the routing table, first of all, we're going to have 3 connections. Every routing table is going to have one route that points back to whatever you're connected to. So if you've got a router and he's connected to 172.18.13 network, there's going to be a route for everything that goes there. Get the idea? If I've got 2 routers and I need to get data to this network or that network, you're directly connected, I still have to have a route to them. So then I've got, here's 14.13.12 network, and notice it says on link. That means I'm directly connected to this network. And I'm going to go out on the interface 14.12.13.100, and then 202.27.44, again, directly connected, and that's the connection I go out on. We're missing a couple of things here. Let's talk about some missing things. First of all, let's talk about metrics. There are situations, remember what a router was invented to do originally. Routers were invented back, depending who you want to argue with this about, back in the 70s when the United States was building these big packet switch networks that weren't carrying, eBay purchases. They were carrying data to defend the United States, and we were all convinced the Ruskies were going to come in and take it all out. So the idea is that if Chicago gets bombed, we can route around that. That's why they're called routers, okay? So if I'm going to configure routers, and we don't know what dynamic routing is yet, so I want to give people more than one way to get to something. So if I give people more than one way to get to something, how are they going to choose which route to use? And that's what the metric's all about. So if we take a look at this particular one, you'll see I've got one connection that goes out to the outside world. You see that? But remember, 202 also goes out to the outside world. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add a second default gateway. Now look at these 2 default gateways. They are absolutely, I don't care what this is, I don't care what this is, just do it. It's the metric that makes you define which one it goes to. The smaller the number on the metric, that's if otherwise equal, the smaller metric wins. Where these numbers come in metrics, it really depends. Windows has its own way to calculate it. Linux has its own way to calculate it. Cisco has their way to calculate it. Everybody has their way. And it's a relative term. And you can change it, okay? So people get all bent out. Why is that 281, Mike? Because Bill Gates said so. Really. But when we're configuring, and this is all static route, we are in static router configuration now. When we're setting up routes like we're doing right here, the onus is on you to make sure that you set up the route you want to use primarily. Because I've got 2 ISPs. One is native gigabit Ethernet, right? And the other one is, I don't know, I'll lie. It's a cable modem, which is about 1/3 the bandwidth. So I want to use the Ethernet, right? Unless the Ethernet goes down, and then I want the other one to kick in. So that's why I have the routing table configured like that. So this first route is going to get everything until this first route stops working for some reason, and then the other route kicks in. Auto-magically. All right. So, here's my 3 routers. Now, what I want to do in this case is something a little bit different. In this case, what I want to do is, there is no default routes here, folks. There's only 3 networks in the entire universe, and they are connected by 2 routers. So the first thing I'm going to do, I need you to watch very carefully while I do this. First thing, I'm going to address each one of these ports. This port right here, that is 172.18.13.1. I just didn't have enough room to put it all in. Come on, people. Be with me. Next is 14.12.13.1. You see that? He is a part of that network. This port is 14.12.13.1. Now, both of these ports are connected to 202.27.44, right? So let's give them addresses. So this is 202.27.44.10. This is 202.27.44.11. Stare at that for a minute. Let's get this in our brains. Because what we're going to do now is we're going to do some more routing. Except in this routing example, number one, we don't need a default gateway because there is no internet or anything anybody go to. So there's only 3 local area networks. So I can define all those, their routing tables, and we can get to anybody within those 3 local area networks. All right, let's do it. So if you take a look very carefully, here is the first routing table. Let me go back one. This right here, this is router A, okay? All right, so let's take a look at routing table A. So 172.18.13 is a direct connection. You see it? It's on link. And the interface is whatever that NIC happens to be. 202 is also on link. Do you see this? And it just goes out on interface 10. Let's take a look at here. See? So this right here, 202 is on link and it goes out on interface 10. You get it? The last one is 14.12.13.0. It is not directly connected to that router. In fact, in order to get through it, we got to go through this guy right here, okay? So what we have to do is we have to tell them what the gateway to this network is, and the gateway from 202 is .11. So to get to the 14.12.13 network on a WAC 24, go ahead and send it out on 202.27.11. I'm sorry, send it out on 202.27.44.10. Whoops, I confuse interface and gateway myself sometimes. And then look for the next uplink, which is going to be 202.27.44.11. Let's look at that one more time. So from here, send it out on 202.27.44.10, but it's going to be 202.27.44 is the upstream link. And once you send it to this router, you just count on this router's routing table to get it to the right guy. Looking good. All right, let's do it again, except this time let's do the routing table for the router B, the one on the right. All right, so as we take a look at routing table B, at first glance it looks kind of the same, doesn't it? All right, but there's actually quite different. So once again, router B has 2 networks directly connected. 14.12.13.0, you can still see it right there. And then 202.27.44, you can see it right there. Those are both directly connected. They're easy. However, if it wants to get to 172.18.13.0, it's got to go through the .11 connection and get to .10. Let me back this up too. So it's going to go through the .11 connect. So we're going from here this time, folks, to the .11 and look for .10. By far, the hardest part of static routing is documenting and making sure you're sending stuff to the right place. At this point in the game, you might be tempted to go, oh, I want to start playing with some home routers. You can. Couple of things I might warn you. If you want to try like plugging a couple of routers together and getting them to talk, number one, turn off all firewalls everywhere. So turn off the firewalls on your individual systems. Turn off the firewalls in the router. Also take a look, oh, I always forget what those settings are. The ICMP, all the firewall settings that you see in routers, turn those off. Well, Mike, isn't that dangerous? Yeah, but we're learning, so keep it off the internet while you're doing this. It's really important that you turn off all the firewalls because the main way you're going to be testing your routing table is trying to ping other people. I mean, it's really the big test. If you can't ping them, something's wrong, right? So pinging gets blocked by a lot of things. Be sure to turn off all firewalls while you're experimenting with static routes. Okay. So that's the major concept here in terms of configuring routes. Number one, recognize what you want to do. You're setting up a router because you want to span two local area networks. So draw out your rounded rectangle network ID boxes. Get those drawn out. Draw a box that is your router and draw the little ports on it and make sure that you give them, write down the right IP addresses. I'm going to warn you right now, the devil is in the details with routing. Static routing in particular is notorious for typos. And 9 out of 10 times when somebody says, well, I did everything you said, Mike, and it doesn't work. You're a terrible instructor. I love that one. Number one, I'm going to say, did you turn off all the firewalls? Oops, okay. And then number two, did you make any typos? And again, that's why writing this stuff down on paper is so important. Literally, folks, I write down rounded rectangle. Okay, maybe they're just squares. And then I draw out the network IDs. I draw all this out because you're going to mess up. You're going to mess up a lot. That's just how it goes. So be careful with that. All right, it's 2:47. We've got stuff to give away today still. I'm going to go ahead and stop for now and see if we got any questions coming in. Looks like people are just chatting. I'm reading, folks, whenever you see me. I'm not sure what this shirt and Foo Fighters has to do, but okay. All right, looks like we don't have any questions. STP is its own protocol, that is true. Packet Tracer, Jeremy, is a great tool. I like Packet Tracer quite a bit. JM, to create spanning tree, if you have multiple routers, do you need special software? JM, spanning tree has nothing to do with routers at all, my friend. Spanning tree is a layer 2 protocol. It's designed to work with switches. So sorry, man, they wouldn't work together. Nubian Queen, Mike, for practicing, can I putty? Putty into my network? No, Nubian Queen, you may not. I'll tell you what, though, there's certainly some things we could probably do. I'm going to go ahead and finish this lecture series, I guess, and see if I don't have any quick and easy answers on online router configurations that I like. I can find lots of router configurations. You can install Packet Tracer, but I don't have one yet. I'll keep looking. But what I would like to do today is give some stuff away. So to give things away, we're going to be giving away, first of all, we're going to be giving away free practice questions from Total Seminars. And then secondarily, we're going to be giving away a free voucher from CompTIA. So we'll do it in that order. So what I thought might be fun is let's actually use what we just learned as a competition. So we're about to have a competition, folks. Here's how this competition works. Number one, it's not fair. I'd like for it to be fair. I try to make it fair, but things happen where life is unfair. So if you're looking for perfect fairness, don't participate. I'll do the best that I can. There's only like 50 people in here. Come on. Number two, I'm going to put something up on the screen, and the first person who writes it down on my screen, on the chat window in a way that I understand it is going to win. So it is completely up to you guys. You ready? So let's go ahead and do our first one right now. We are now competing for, pardon me, free practice questions from Total Seminars. And when I say free practice, we got just about everything you need. A+, Net+, Security Plus, on and on and on. Okay. Ready for our first question? Trying to multitask. I am not a multitasker. All right, here we go. So, let's take a look at this routing table. What is wrong here? Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to leave this routing table up on the screen so you guys can answer the question, okay? The question is, so first of all, here's the 5. I've numbered the 5 rows in the routing table. You guys ready for the question? Here it is. A packet's coming in on that IP address. Which one of these 5 rows of the routing table will that use? The router has to use one of these 5 routes to route this packet. That's 202.27.44.123. I need an answer, folks. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. The first person to give me the right answer wins. Ross McGiven, don't panic. We've got this already done from previous episodes, so don't freak out. Okay, we got lots of winners. Wow, okay, maybe that was too easy. All right. All right. Okay, so my winner shows as someone named Eskey, E-S-K-E-Y. Eskey, congratulations to you. You are the winner of today's free practice questions. Eskey, in order to claim your prize, you must... Oh, that's the wrong screen. Wait. Let me put the right one up. There we go. Eskey, have a pen and paper ready. Here we go. So Eskey, you need to send an email to my buddy Dave Rush. His email address is daver@totalsem.com. In this email, you must include, number 1, your YouTube name, which is ESKY. ESK? There was SK or something there. And it has to be in the body of it. You have to put in your email address. You go, well, Mike, I'm sending you an email. Use the return address. No, because people end up going, why'd you send it to that email? So the email that is in the body of the message is the one we will use. And then, of course, Eskey, tell us which practice exam you want. It's completely up to you. We've got zillions of them. Head over to www.totalsem.com. Check them out. And we will give you 90 days free access to the practice questions of your choice. Congratulations to you, Eskey, and well done. That was fun, but let's do it again. More competition, because that question was far too easy. Too easy or great tutorial made it look easy? Why, the latter, of course. All right. So we're going to give away, oh my God, it's almost 3 o'clock already. All right, we got to quit talking, Mike, and start doing. We are now going to give away our free CompTIA voucher. So I've got another competition, not too dissimilar from what we just saw there, folks. The difference being, yeah. We have another competition just like the one we just saw. It's going to be a different number and a different value. So once again, folks, please remember Steve JG24. You gave to wrong person. I don't know why people say that. Whatever. Okay. Steve, I gave it to the person I think is the winner. So don't do that. This is an unfair competition, and don't make me crabby and stop giving away free stuff, okay? I'm doing my best I can. All right, so here we go. Next question. Ready? Here we go. All right. This is for the CompTIA voucher. All right, so I've got 2 network IDs. Do you see these? I got 2 different network IDs that are plugged into a little router, okay? So I've set this one up right here, as 119.7250.1. You agree that's part of that network. And then this guy here, I've got it configured as 202.101.3.1, which you agree is this part of this network, right? Here comes the question. Fill in this piece right here. I need someone to write the correct answer for right here, please. I'm leaving. Darius is saying the word broadcast ID. I don't know why he's saying that, but see what happens. Boop, 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 boop. So I need someone to type in the answer here. What interface is it going to use to connect to the 14.12.13? Oh my gosh. No wonder everybody was confused. Well, at least I saved my typo to the end. We can't use that, guys. There's a typo on it. It's so embarrassing. Balk. Why don't we try again with a question that's actually going to work? This is a real challenge. I got to tell you, when you're teaching routing, to even have, thank God it happened on a competition question and not while I was right in the middle trying to teach you guys something. Let me dig up another question. Sorry. Like I tell the IRS every year, I forgot. Ugh. I'm digging up a question. I thought that was such a good question. I made a typo. That's so frustrating. It's like, can I fix it quickly? No, not really. I'm going to fix it. I was wondering why nobody was answering that. I was like, what is wrong with these people? Okay. I think I fixed it. Almost there, kids. Okay. There, I fixed it really quick. Let's try again. There we go. All right, the first person to write down the right IP address wins. Literally, the first person to write down the correct IP address is going to win a voucher. Yeah. The first person to write down the correct IP address wins a free CompTIA voucher. Ah, come on, Darius, try something. I need what goes in there. I'll give you a clue. The gateway says on link, which means it's directly connected. Piano lady. I'm going to let these people suffer for a minute. I bought your CompTIA A+ book at Amazon. Wondering what's a rough timeline to prepare Park 1 Queen D, no tech background. Really? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? All right, I'm going to count to 10. Let's That's what I get for messing that up, man. You guys are hilarious. Guys, don't be afraid to at least try something. It's extremely easy. I'll give you a clue. The answer's on the screen. No, David, you cannot multi-guess. See, in situations like this, when one person gets it wrong, I blame you. But when everybody else gets it wrong, then I have to blame myself for being a poor instructor. So let me show you what the answer is real quick. Guys, the answer is simply 202.101.3.1 right here. That's the interface. That's it. Maybe we ought to spend another day on routing before we get into dynamic routing. I get nervous when that many people get that wrong. Nobody put that. Ross McGivens says, I said that. So does lots of people say that. I said that. Okay, just stop you. Here you go. Reset. Here is our first question. Our question to win a free CompTIA voucher. It's a $400 voucher, folks. You ready? Going to make it easy. Radius uses 2 port numbers. What are they? Radius uses 2 port numbers. What are they? There's the answer right there, Theodorus. 202.101.3.1. Da, da, da. All right. Da, 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 da. I got a bunch of people saying they answered it. Well, folks, I didn't see anything, okay? So I'm sorry, but like I said, the first thing I said is it's not fair, okay? But again, there's only 40 of us in here. You got 1 in 40 odds of getting a free voucher, so I'm not going to sweat it too much. Okay, but we do have a correct answer here. The answers I was looking for was, where'd it go? So I'm going to give this one to Omar Eldansori. Am I pronouncing your name right? Da, 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 da. All right. So Eldon, congratulations. You are the winner. Guys, I don't know why. I got a ton of people not showing up. So don't know what to tell you. So sorry. Hey, we'll be back on Friday to do it again. So there's lots of free vouchers. Anyway, in the meantime, let's not take away the thunder from Omar Eldansori. Ooh, Omar, you have a hard last name for me to pronounce. But anyway, yeah, I'm on live chat and everything. I don't know why. Sometimes YouTube does this. Sorry for the unfairness. We'll just keep doing it so everybody gets a fair shot. So Omar, congratulations. Omar, in order to claim your prize, you got to jump through a number of hoops. Omar, I hope you have a pen and paper on you because you better start typing. Don't panic. Dave Rush will also put this in the chat window as well. So Dave, number 1, Elmar, you have to send an email to daver@total7.com. That's DAVER@total7.com. In the body of the email, make sure your YouTube name shows up there, just like you did Omar, O-M-A-R. And make sure you have an email address. Make sure the email address is actually in the body of the email. Put your exact name as on previous CompTIA certifications. If you haven't done any CompTIA certifications, just put your most formal name. That would work, okay? Like if you were creating a bank account, what name would you use? Next, put the country where you reside, and if you're a U.S. citizen, also add the state that you're in. Second to last, add the country where you will take the exam. So for Americans, that's no big deal, but for people who are close to other countries. We need to know not only where you reside, but where you plan to take the exam. And last, be sure to put in the exact exam number. For example, A+220-1002, not just A+. So congratulations to you, Omar. Guys, sorry about that. I don't know why I lost a bunch of posts. But yeah, I missed a bunch of posts. It happens every now and then, and I apologize for it, but that's why I tell everybody at the beginning, we try to be as fair as possible. And the other thing I might add, especially for you new faces, we work very hard to make sure that new people win the vouchers. I'm not saying that I am saying that if you have won a voucher before, we're going to tweak it a little bit because we want new people to win the vouchers. So that just happens, and sorry about that. But we like those. Sorry, I'm reading. I get a little. I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway, the bottom line is congratulations to you, Omar. Now, Omar, the onus is on you to send that email to Dave Rush, all right? If you don't send it, then that's a problem. If you don't send it right, Dave Rush is a nice guy, but, you know, come on. The guy's got only so many hours in the day. So try to get that right or as close as you can. Hi, Mike. Are you on Clubhouse also? I don't even know what Clubhouse is. Piano lady, take a screenshot, okay? What are we taking a screenshot of? Okay, looks like everybody's there. Krampus is here again. Hey, Mike, I started redoing my floors. Yes, new network cables. Excellent. I like cabling whenever I need it. Abukar, Mike, we need routing episode, please. Well, we just had one and we'll have more. It was the dots. All right, I got to. Mr. G, we appreciate you, Mike and team. Thank you for all the good. Yeah, it's all, no worries, problem. Kishen Patel, bought your course. How long should I take for me to pass the test? There's 2 tests for the A+, Kishan, and I recommend 220 hours. So that would be to do it. TC, I see your test message. Yeah, guys, I don't know what happened there. I really just I didn't miss them. They just never showed. Sorry about that. It's not the first time that's happened. Hopefully it won't be the last. Please come back and try again. We give away vouchers Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, folks. So as you can tell, we don't get a big crowd in here, so you always have an excellent opportunity. Sorry if we have a rough day, but we'll always be back the next day to try it again. On Wednesday, I don't think I'm going to start dynamic routing. What I think I'm going to do instead is for Wednesday, I'm going to try to set up a couple more real-world type of examples, and I'm trying to come up with a way to do it online so that anybody can do it with me. Well, let's see what I can pull off between now and Wednesday. Fingers crossed, and we'll get it there. All right? So, guys, it is well after 3 o'clock. I have got to run. I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. Remember, Wednesday we'll be giving away vouchers and free practice questions, and we will continue on routing, although I think we're going to kind of stick to the more basic routing, and I want to make sure you guys are more comfortable with that. All right. Norvik, I don't know what Clubhouse is. I'll check it out. All right. So I'm out of here. Bye, guys.